Man, down goes the defending champions. Multiple defensive linebacker performances that were great this weekend, and the Dragons and the Sea Devils explode. Man, let's recap the weekend.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big.
Hey, before we get this thing started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment. Let's talk about it, see how things are going.
Welcome to Base Coverage, everyone. I'm your host, Jamal Clay, and Base Coverage is presented to you by Athletes Forum. Man, this is the recap. We're going to talk about some of the games. I'm going to give you some quick thoughts, a couple overreactions, but hey, it was a great week in football on the ELF. Here we go. First game I want to get into, the Cologne Centurions versus the Essenbow Rams. Now, for everyone who had questions about the Rams, listen, they're legit. They're better than we thought they were. You know, they got off to a slow start versus the Centurions, will ultimately coming back in the second half and have a better performance. One thing that we should all know about Cologne is that their defense is way better than it was last year. What a great defensive performance, despite what the score was. You know, both of these defenses combined for a total or close to 10 turnovers, which, you know, could have been a sloppy game on offense, could have been a little bit of rust. But ultimately, it became an exciting matchup to watch. Two guys definitely we should look forward to watching as we continue with the season. Zachary Blair, linebacker for the Rams. He recorded about 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble in the fumble recovery. And then Valmore Simon is a beast. This dude balled this past game, 7 tackles, half a sack, 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, and 2 PBUs. So those are 2 guys you definitely want to take a look. The Cologne Centurions won this one 40-38. Next game I want to get into, Leipzig Kings versus the Russell Panthers. This game was everything we thought it was going to be. We knew it was going to be close. We knew it was going to be a bar burner. The Panthers were determined not to let the Kings get the running game going. One of the matchups that I thought was going to be interesting to watch was defensive coordinator for the Panthers, Dave Likens, going up against David McCants, running back for the Kings. Both were on the New York Lions at one point. So there was some familiarity there. Panthers got off to a good start before the Kings came back, and Jordan Barlow led 2 series for touchdowns, put them up 14-7. D-Rob and Doble were going at it the whole game, which was, you know, fantastic to watch. Kings defense, you know, as compared to last year, this Kings defense is fast and physical. And, you know, they were mostly in the 3-4 defense, which matched the personnel that they got with the linebacker signings that they got. So this is going to be interesting to watch in terms of their defense, and if the offense could complement the defense the whole season, you know, the Kings are definitely a team to keep an eye on. But ultimately, you know, we got to give the Panthers defense some loves too. All right, they say defense wins games. Well, ultimately, they sealed the deal on the scoop and score by Lars Steffen at the end of the game, closing out the win. Let's talk about the Fire and the Galaxy. Down goes the defending champions. Hey, this was a big statement win by the Fire. Something that, you know, really impressed the league, and something that I'm starting to look into as, you know, the first weekend slate was maybe we're a little bit underestimating the Southern Conference with those teams in there. Those teams had great showings this weekend, and the Fire definitely had probably the biggest showing, the biggest statement, and maybe overall the best team win. Game turned out to be a heavyweight fight with both teams exchanging scores, also exchanging turnovers. The Fire offensive line I thought looked pretty good against the Galaxy front 7, which was, you know, definitely a matchup to watch. But ultimately, the game came down to a field goal at the end. Coach Tom Sewell and his staff did a good job of getting their team prepared, upsetting the Galaxy at home with earning their first win of the series and their first win in the new season of the ELF. Next, we got the Vikings and the Raiders. This was a classic battle between these 2 Austrian teams. Vikings, you know, I think the number one thing the Vikings need to do to improve to next week and the rest of the season is they got to get healthy. It's no doubt about it that they are banged up, but ultimately that makes this win even more impressive, being able to beat their rivals, the Raiders, in the first opening matchup. The Raiders defense played well. I think the Vikings struggled a little bit with their run game and their pass protection. Most of the times they were playing behind the 6, and it looks like they were trying to threaten the Raiders vertically downfield with a lot of big plays. But I think that's something that they're going to try to work on with establishing more of a run game in the earlier downs going into next week. The Vikings, you know, the defense, they bended, but they didn't break. And ultimately, that's what got them the win. Vikings get a good team win, beating the Raiders in Innsbruck, starting the season 1-0. Let's talk a little bit about the Barcelona Dragons versus the Stuttgart Surge. This was a good game. It was a quiet game. You know, Barcelona, they did a good job in terms of their pregame fits, and you know, both teams are going back and back in the first quarter. But then the second quarter came, and Magic Zach took over. You know, exploding for 29 points, I believe, in the second quarter alone. And that was ultimately the end of the game after that. Surge, they're a young team. I'm interested to see how they're going to bounce back. They have a real tough one next week versus the Panthers, but this is going to be a good challenge to play a good team and see how they bounce back versus a loss like this. You know, the Surge offense really couldn't get going throughout the whole game. I know Randy had 2 interceptions, but you know, like I said, this is a young team. We gotta give them some time to see what this team is gonna turn into. So that's why next week's game versus the Panthers, we should be able to learn more about who the Surge are going into week 2. Let's talk about the Hamburg Sea Devils versus the Berlin Thunder. All off season, all we've been hearing is the Berlin Thunder are a different team, and I believe that. I truly do. I really think they have a better defense, a good quarterback, and you know, even to start this game, they came out swinging first, got to a good start. But this Hamburg team is different. And we thought, even though they lost a couple of key guys who were real big playmakers for them, they reloaded with some of their signings, and they put that on display this weekend versus the Thunder. One of the things, as I mentioned with Coach Cantrell in an interview one time, was what's one thing we would be saying about the Sea Devils after week 1? He said, you know, one thing you're saying is they're explosive, and they exploded. Offense is totally different. I think the run game with Cisse and Tonga is going to be dangerous throughout the whole season. Tonga had 2 touchdowns today, and they didn't even really get Gene going. And if they could incorporate, or when they incorporate Gene into his offense, that vertical game on the play action is going to be different from the Sea Devils. So ultimately, you know, this game, you know, this game turned left pretty quick, and the Sea Devils bounced on Berlin, and you know, they were able to show that they were the better team, the more experienced team. And I still think Berlin is going to be good. Next week they do play the Istanbul Rams, which is going to be a good challenge because the Rams are better than a lot of people thought they were. But again, the Sea Devils, this is all about the Sea Devils today, as they played a well-rounded game on both ends. Glenn Tonga with 2 touchdowns. Welcome to the ELF, my friend. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. That's all we have today on the recap. Tune in Friday as we have our pregame show part 2 as we head into week 2 of the ELF. It's going to be a good one. I appreciate all you guys' support. And like I tell everyone, this is not going to be the last time we chop it up.
Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work.